Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive, into the world of acquisition entrepreneurship. It's a path to business ownership that I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
Instead of starting a business from scratch,
Right.
you're actually buying one that already exists.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about this, pulling from the book Buy Then Build by Walker Deibel.
Okay.
He makes a pretty compelling argument, I think, for buying rather than building.
Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting about this whole approach is that it allows you to bypass that startup phase.
Yeah.
Which, can be kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know 9 out of 10 startups failing.
Right.
It's like even if you have an amazing idea, a great team, you have funding, it's still like...
Yeah, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You can almost feel like you're trying to, build a house of cards in a windstorm.
Yeah.
There are so many factors that are completely outside of your control.
Yeah.
But with acquisition entrepreneurship, you're stepping into a business that already has that foundation. It's generating revenue, it has customers, it has systems in place.
So you're saying it's almost like instead of planting a seed and having to nurture it from the ground up,
right,
you're kind of getting a sapling that's already established.
Totally. Yeah. And the thing is that this market for existing businesses is huge.
Really?
There are about 500,000 small businesses that are acquired every year.
500,000?
Yeah.
Wow. I would have never guessed that number was so big.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, well, that's got to be,
right,
only for millionaires.
Yeah.
I could never afford to buy a business.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception a lot of people have, and I understand why they have it.
Yeah.
But financing an acquisition is often easier than securing funding for a startup.
Really? Why is that?
Well, you have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of a bank or a lender.
Okay.
A startup is all potential.
Right.
But it's also a huge unknown.
Yeah.
An existing business, on the other hand, has a track record.
Right.
So it has assets, it has cash flow.
Okay.
It has this history of generating revenue.
Yeah.
Which makes it a much less risky investment for that lender.
You can see the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. They can look at the past performance
Yeah.
and have some level of certainty
Right.
about whether or not this is going to generate a return.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's not about you having millions in the bank.
Right.
It's about the opportunity itself already being structured and solid.
Absolutely. And here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We're in the midst of a massive generational shift right now.
Right.
The baby boomers are retiring.
Yeah.
And they own a significant portion of businesses.
Yeah, I've heard about this like a tidal wave of businesses.
It is a tidal wave.
Yeah.
We're talking about an estimated $10 trillion
Wow.
worth of businesses that are going to be up for grabs in the next few years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So we've got a ton of businesses coming onto the market.
Yep.
We've got potentially easier financing options.
Right.
It seems like this is painting a much different picture than the image of the entrepreneur in the garage,
Yeah.
Grinding away, hoping to become the next unicorn.
And speaking of unicorns,
Yeah.
those flashy startup success stories,
Yeah.
while they're captivating, they are the exception, not the rule.
Right.
Even venture capital-backed startups with all their resources and all their funding, they still have a failure rate of about 75%.
That high.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, those are the ones that are getting all the attention and investment.
Exactly. And I think it highlights, the high-risk, high-reward nature of that world.
Yeah.
Acquisition entrepreneurship offers a more grounded,
Yeah.
potentially more stable path to success.
Okay. I'm definitely intrigued so far.
Good.
But let's say I'm sold on this whole idea of acquisition entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Where do I begin?
Yeah.
Do I just start, going on websites that list businesses for sale?
It's a bit more nuanced than that. The key is to really define your search criteria.
Okay.
So, what kind of business do you actually envision yourself running?
Yeah.
What are your strengths and your interests?
So finding the right fit for me.
Exactly.
Not just any opportunity.
Right. And instead of getting caught up in revenue figures, really focus on the opportunity and what is known as seller discretionary earnings, or SDE.
Okay, SDE.
Yeah.
That sounds important.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, so SDE is essentially the total cash flow the current owner is taking from the business.
Okay.
It's a much better indicator of the business's true profitability.
Than just looking at revenue.
Exactly. Yeah, because you are buying a business to generate an income for yourself.
Right.
So understanding that SDE helps you assess whether the business can actually support your lifestyle and financial goals.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, and so, this SDE information, you'll find it in the financial documents that the seller is going to share.
Okay.
Things like their profit and loss statements.
Okay.
But it's important to understand how that SDE is calculated.
Right.
And to look at those numbers with like a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay.
Sometimes sellers might try to inflate the SDE by including personal expenses or one-time income sources.
So things that aren't really a part of
The
every business.
Yeah, so it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, a little healthy skepticism.
Right.
I'm starting to see how this process
Yeah.
requires a bit more due diligence than just, like I said, browsing listings.
Absolutely. It's about being informed and being strategic.
Yeah.
And speaking of being strategic,
Okay.
Walker Deibel, the author we're talking about,
Right.
he outlines 4 main, what he calls opportunity profiles,
Okay.
to help you kind of define what type of business you're looking for.
Oh, so it's like choosing your own adventure.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like what kind of...
Your entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, exactly. And so he calls them eternally profitable
Okay.
turnaround, high growth and platform.
Okay, so each one of these has its own characteristics.
Yeah, they all have different characteristics, different potential risks and rewards.
Yeah.
And they align with, different entrepreneurial aspirations.
Okay, I'm fascinated. Let's dive into these a little bit.
Yeah, so let's start with eternally profitable.
Okay.
These, as the name suggests, are businesses that tend to generate consistent, stable profits year after year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to, make you rich overnight.
Right.
But they offer predictability.
Okay.
And a good income stream.
I like the sound of that, steady, reliable cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. Think of businesses like laundromats, car washes.
Okay.
Or even a snow removal company.
Interesting.
Yeah. They might not be glamorous.
Yeah.
But they fulfill essential needs, and they tend to be less affected by economic downturns.
Yeah, so they're like the tortoises of the business world.
Exactly. Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. Okay, so then what about turnaround?
Yeah, so turnarounds are all about identifying businesses that have fallen on hard times.
Okay.
But still have, that potential for a comeback.
Okay.
So you're essentially stepping in as like a business doctor.
Interesting.
Diagnosing the problems and implementing a treatment plan.
Yeah.
To bring that business back to health.
Sounds challenging, but also potentially rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
High growth? That's the one that screams startup energy to me.
Exactly. Yeah, these are businesses that are, experiencing rapid growth.
Yeah.
Often in industries with, a lot of momentum.
Right.
Think tech companies, innovative product lines, things like that.
Yeah.
But with high growth also comes higher risk.
Right.
And the need for, significant capital investment to manage that growth effectively.
High reward, high risk.
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, platform.
Yeah. So platform businesses are where you, as the buyer, are looking for a business that you are going to actively operate in as the CEO, leveraging your own, skills and experience to drive growth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less about the specific industry and more about finding a business that aligns with your passions.
So it becomes like an extension of you.
Exactly. Yeah, you're buying a platform for your own entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I like that.
And often, platform acquisitions are just the first step. Right. They lay the foundation for future growth.
Right.
Through, additional acquisitions or expansions into new markets.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, these opportunity profiles.
Yeah.
I can see how choosing the right one is so important.
It is.
But let's say I figured out my profile. I'm ready to start looking for businesses.
Okay.
What's my first step?
So before you even start browsing listings.
Okay.
It's crucial to prepare financially.
Okay.
And to line up your financing options.
So what does that involve? Meeting with banks?
Exactly. Yeah, meeting with banks, understanding what kind of loans you qualify for.
Like getting pre-approved for a mortgage before you start house hunting.
Exactly. Yeah, you need to know what you can realistically afford.
Okay, so what should I be asking bankers when I'm meeting with them?
Yeah, so first and foremost, be prepared to share your personal financial information. They're going to want to see your balance sheet, your tax returns, your credit score, the whole 9 yards.
Like a financial job interview?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
But remember, you're not asking for money for some vague idea.
Right.
You're talking about acquiring a tangible asset, a business with a history of generating cash flow.
Yeah, it adds a layer of credibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when meeting with these bankers, be sure to ask about their experience. Small business acquisitions. Do they specialize in SBA loans?
Okay.
Are they comfortable with real estate loans or working capital lines of credit?
Got it.
You want to find a bank that understands the nuances of acquisition financing.
Okay, so finding the right bank is important too.
It is.
Okay, so once I've got my financing ducks in a row,
Yeah.
then I can start looking at listings.
Well, before you dive into the listings themselves,
Okay.
it's crucial to connect with business brokers and intermediaries.
So going upstream to the source.
Exactly. Yeah. Building relationships with these key players is essential for finding the best deals.
Yeah.
Brokers are the gatekeepers to deal flow,
Right.
and they often have access to off-market opportunities that you wouldn't find online.
Interesting.
And they can provide valuable insights into the market
and
help you navigate, the complexities of this acquisition process.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do I approach these brokers?
Yeah. So, be prepared to clearly articulate your search criteria.
Okay.
So what type of business are you looking for? What's your desired size and revenue range?
Okay.
What geographic location are you targeting?
Yeah.
What are your deal breakers?
So the more specific, the better.
Exactly. Yeah. The more specific you can be,
Yeah.
the better the broker can match you with suitable opportunities.
It's like back to that target statement we talked about.
Right.
Yeah, the more focused I am, the better the results.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that brokers work for the seller.
Right.
So their primary goal is to get the best deal for their client.
Okay, so while they can be valuable allies, I also need to be looking out for my own interests.
Absolutely. You need to approach this process with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
Not every deal is a good deal.
Right.
And you need to be prepared to walk away if the numbers don't make sense.
Got it. Trust but verify.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say I've connected with a few brokers.
Okay.
And I've finally received an offering memorandum, or an OM, as I guess they call it.
Yes.
For a business that piques my interest.
Okay.
What happens next?
So this is where things start to get exciting.
Okay.
The offering memorandum, it's like a business's dating profile. It's designed to showcase the business in its best light and provide potential buyers with an overview of, its operations, its financials, its growth potential.
So I'm kind of getting to know it.
Exactly, yeah. Seeing if there's chemistry, seeing if it's something you want to pursue further.
Okay, so what should I be looking for when I'm reviewing this OM?
Yeah, so first and foremost, pay close attention to the financial statements.
Okay.
Are the revenues and profits consistent?
Okay.
Are there any, unusual fluctuations or trends?
I'm looking for things that just don't add up.
Exactly, yeah. Or things that, raise questions.
Yeah.
Also, scrutinize that customer concentration.
Okay.
Is the business reliant on a few major clients?
Okay.
What if those clients were to leave?
Right.
Could that significantly impact the business's revenue?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to inherit a business that's overly dependent on just a handful of customers.
Right.
Okay, so I'm checking out the financials, looking at customer concentration. Anything else?
Yeah, you also want to consider the industry itself.
Yeah.
Is it a growing industry or is it facing decline?
Right.
Are there any regulatory changes on the horizon that could potentially, impact the business?
So understanding those broader market forces.
Right.
Okay, and what about the management team?
Yeah, so the management team is huge.
Okay.
Do they have a solid track record?
Yeah.
Are they planning to stay on after the acquisition?
Okay.
The quality of that management team can really make or break a business.
Yeah, so I'm evaluating the numbers, the customers, the industry, the people.
Right.
It's a lot to think of.
It is, but remember the OM is just the starting point.
Okay.
It's designed to spark your interest.
Right.
And provide that high-level overview.
Yeah.
If the business passes that initial screening, the next step is to schedule a meeting with the seller.
Okay, so now it's like moving from the online dating profile to the first date.
Yeah, this is your chance to actually get to know the seller. Okay.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
See if there's a good fit between your vision to the business and their reasons for selling.
So building that rapport.
Exactly.
Making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. You want to feel confident that you can work together effectively,
right?
During the transition and beyond.
Yeah, and I guess it's a two-way street, too.
It is.
The seller is evaluating me as a potential buyer.
Absolutely. They want to make sure you have the experience, the resources, and the vision to take their business to the next level.
Okay, so I got to bring my A game to this meeting.
Exactly.
Now, let's say the meeting goes well.
Okay.
I'm feeling really good about the opportunity.
Yeah.
How do I go about making an offer?
Yeah, so the standard way to make an offer is through a letter of intent or an LOI.
Okay, an LOI.
Yeah.
What exactly is that?
So it's a non-binding document
that
outlines the key terms of the deal.
Okay.
Including The purchase price,
yeah,
the payment structure, and any contingencies.
It's essentially a roadmap for the transaction.
Right.
And it serves as a starting point for the negotiations.
So it's not the final contract.
No.
But it's kind of setting the stage for that.
Exactly. Yeah, it helps ensure that both parties are on the same page before diving into, the more complex legal and financial details.
Yeah, so it's an important step.
It is.
What are the key elements that need to be in my LOI?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you need to state the purchase price that you're offering.
Okay, and I can't just throw out a random number?
No.
I have to do my research, figure out what this business is actually worth.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are, several valuation methods you can use.
Okay.
It often involves, working with a financial professional to kind of get an accurate assessment.
Okay.
You want to consider factors like, the business's financial performance, its assets, the market conditions, the growth potential.
So justifying that number with solid analysis and data.
Exactly. Yeah, you need to be able to articulate why you believe your offer is fair.
Okay.
And reasonable.
Got it. So purchase price is a big one. What else is in the LOI?
Yeah, so you also need to specify the payment structure.
Oh.
Will you be paying in cash?
Yeah.
Will you be seeking financing?
Right.
Will there be any seller financing involved?
So how the money's going to change hands.
Exactly.
And all the terms of that transaction.
And this is where those conversations with bankers really come into play.
Yeah.
You need to make sure, that proposed payment structure aligns with your financing options.
It's all connected.
It is.
Now, what about contingencies?
Yeah, so contingencies are essential for protecting your interests.
Yep.
They outline certain conditions that must be met before the deal can close. So it's kind of like an escape hatch if something unexpected arises during that due diligence process.
Got it.
Some common contingencies, include the buyer's ability to obtain financing, satisfactory completion of due diligence, and the absence of any undisclosed liabilities.
So setting those clear expectations and safeguards for both parties.
Exactly. And remember, the LOI is a negotiation tool.
Okay.
Both the buyer and the seller can propose changes, counteroffers, until they reach a mutually agreeable set of terms.
So it's not just take it or leave it.
No.
There's some give and take there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important to approach this process with a collaborative mindset.
Okay.
You're not trying to win the negotiation.
Right.
You're trying to reach a deal that works for both parties.
Yeah. It's about finding that win-win situation.
Exactly. And once both parties have signed that LOI, you've essentially entered into an exclusive agreement.
Okay.
So the seller is no longer actively marketing the business to other potential buyers.
So things are getting serious at this point.
Yes. The next phase is all about due diligence.
Okay. And that's a whole other...
That's a whole other can of worms that we're going to dive into in the next part of our deep dive.
This is all incredibly insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm already starting to see how, acquisition entrepreneurship could be, much more viable and potentially rewarding path to business ownership than starting from scratch.
I agree.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a break.
Okay.
And come back for part 2.
Sounds good.
Where we'll unravel the mysteries of due diligence.
That's right.
And the closing process.
Wait.
Right. See you soon.
See you then.
Okay. We are back and ready to dive into the next stage of acquisition entrepreneurship. We've talked about finding the right business.
Right.
We've talked about getting financing lined up.
Yep.
We even talked about that letter of intent.
Yeah, that LOI.
But now it's time to really, roll up our sleeves, get down to business, literally.
Literally, we are entering the due diligence phase, which is arguably the most crucial step in this entire process.
Okay, due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it can be.
What exactly does it involve?
So think of it as like a really thorough investigation of the business you're considering buying.
Okay.
Remember that offering memorandum we talked about?
Right, yeah.
Well, due diligence is where you verify all the information in that document and you uncover any potential risks or red flags that might not be immediately apparent.
So it's like I'm hiring a private investigator to go and check out this business's background.
Exactly.
Make sure there are no skeletons in the closet.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
You want to go beyond those glossy marketing materials and really understand what's going on behind the scenes. And just like a good investigator, you're going to need a team of experts to help you.
Okay. A team of experts. So who are we talking about here?
Yeah. So typically your due diligence team is going to include a lawyer, an accountant, and sometimes, specialized consultants, depending on the nature of the business.
Got it.
So your lawyer is going to handle the legal due diligence, which involves reviewing contracts, leases, permits, any other legal documents.
So they're making sure all the T's are crossed?
Exactly, yeah. Making sure the business is operating legally and that there are no legal landmines waiting to explode.
Okay, now what about the accountant? What are they doing?
So the accountant is going to focus on financial due diligence, which is all about scrutinizing those numbers. So they'll dive deep into the financial statements, tax returns, bank records to verify the accuracy of, what the seller has provided. So they're looking at revenue trends, profit margins, cash flow patterns.
So basically like a full-on audit.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. Making sure everything is adding up.
Right. No creative accounting tricks.
Exactly. And so having that experienced accountant on board is super crucial during this phase.
I can see why. They're like financial detectives, looking for clues and things.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got legal and financial. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so besides the legal and the financial aspects, there's also operational due diligence.
Okay, operational, what does that mean?
So this is where you focus on the day-to-day operations of the business. So, understanding how the business actually works. Who are the key employees? What are the customer relationships like? What's the overall efficiency and productivity?
Okay, so getting a feel for the company culture.
Exactly. Yeah, and the processes, the systems that make the business tick. So this phase often involves site visits, interviews with employees, a thorough review of the business's internal processes.
So pretty hands-on.
Yeah. It is. It's really about going beyond those financials and getting a sense of the operational, strengths and weaknesses. I can see that.
Okay, so this all sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot.
Is there like a specific timeline?
Yeah, so the timeline can vary. Depending on the complexity of the business and the responsiveness of the seller. But it's not uncommon for due diligence to take several weeks or even months.
Wow, that's a chunk of time.
It is.
Okay, so patience is important.
Absolutely. And remember, you're not just evaluating the business. You're also building that relationship with the seller. So it's important to approach this phase with a spirit of collaboration and transparency.
It's not adversarial. We're working together.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say I've done my investigation. I've completed the due diligence. I feel confident. What happens next?
So the next step is to finalize the terms of the deal. And draft that formal purchase agreement. This is where your lawyer is really going to shine.
So we're taking all that information we've gathered, and now we're putting it into a legally binding contract.
Exactly. So that purchase agreement is going to cover all the essential details. The purchase price, the payment structure, the closing date. Any representations and warranties laid by the seller. It's a really comprehensive document.
Yeah, it sounds pretty complex.
Yeah, it can be, which is why it's so important to have your lawyer carefully review everything before you sign.
Of course.
They'll make sure that, your interests are protected.
Okay, so besides the purchase agreement, are there any other legal or administrative hurdles?
Yeah, so depending on the nature of the business, the structure of the transaction, there might be other legal or regulatory requirements. Like obtaining permits, licenses, or approvals from government agencies.
So factor those in.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want any last-minute surprises.
That could hold things up.
That could derail the whole deal.
Okay, so once all the legal and administrative stuff is done, then we're ready for the closing.
You are ready for the closing.
This is the big day.
It is the day the business officially changes hands.
Exciting.
It is.
Okay, so what does that involve?
So the closing typically involves a meeting where all the parties involved sign the final documents. You transfer the funds and officially transfer ownership.
I can just imagine what that moment must feel like.
Yeah, it's a big one.
All that hard work.
Yeah, all that due diligence.
And it's all led up to this point.
Yes.
Okay. But let's not forget, acquiring the business is just the beginning.
It really is just the beginning.
It's like reaching base camp at Mount Everest.
I love that analogy.
You've conquered that initial climb.
Yeah.
But the real challenge, the summit, is still ahead of us.
It's still ahead, and that's what we're going to talk about in the final part of our deep dive.
The post-acquisition phase. All right. I can't wait. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Into this world of acquisition entrepreneurship. We've made it, we've navigated the search. We've done our due diligence.
Right.
We figured out the financing. We closed the deal.
Yeah.
You are now officially the owner of a business.
Congratulations.
Huge accomplishment,
It is?
Take a moment to celebrate.
Yeah, celebrate for sure.
But as we've been saying all along, buying the business is just the first step.
It really is just the first step.
It's like reaching base camp at Mount Everest.
Right.
You've, conquered that initial climb.
Yeah.
But the real challenge, the summit,
right,
still lies ahead.
It does. And that's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay, so let's talk about, those first few months as a new owner. What are the most important things to focus on?
Yeah, so those first 90 days are absolutely critical.
Okay.
You're setting the tone for your leadership.
Right.
You're building relationships with the employees. You're making those key decisions that are really going to shape the future of the business.
It's almost like you're making a first impression.
It is.
But on a company-wide scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to instill confidence. You want to build trust.
Yeah.
And you want to get everyone excited about this new chapter.
Okay, so one of the first things I imagine I should do is communicate with the employees.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're probably, feeling anxious.
Of course. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty.
About this new ownership.
Yeah, it's essential to address their concerns.
Yeah.
Answer any questions they have, and really outline your vision.
So transparency, reassurance.
Right.
Clear communication.
Exactly. And remember, you're not just inheriting a business, you are inheriting a team of people who have been instrumental in its success.
Yep.
So, acknowledge their contributions, make them feel valued, and involve them in this transition process.
So it's about creating a sense of shared ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah, getting everyone on board with this new direction.
Yeah. And besides communicating with employees, you also want to take the time to truly understand the business's operations.
Okay, so time to roll up my sleeves.
Yeah, time to get your hands dirty.
Where do I start?
Yeah, so, dive into every aspect of the business.
Okay.
Learn the processes, the systems, the customer relationships. Yeah. Shadow employees, attend meetings, ask questions.
Okay.
The more you immerse yourself in those day-to-day workings of the business, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions.
So it's like I'm becoming a student of the business again.
Yeah, exactly.
But this time, with the added responsibility of leadership.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to lean on the expertise of those people who have been with the business for years.
Right. They've had all that institutional knowledge.
They have so much knowledge that can be incredibly valuable.
Okay, so listen, learn, build those relationships.
Yeah, build those relationships.
Okay, now once I've got a handle on the operations and I've, built some rapport with the team.
Yeah.
What's next? How do I start actually implementing my growth strategies?
Yeah, so there are really 3 fundamental ways to grow a company.
Okay.
You acquire more customers.
Okay, get more customers.
Yeah, you increase order frequency.
So get existing customers to buy more often.
Exactly. Yeah. And you raise that average order value.
So they're spending more.
Yeah, they're spending more on each purchase.
Got it. Okay.
And, you can achieve this through various tactics.
Yeah.
Marketing campaigns, sales promotions, loyalty programs, product development, strategic partnerships.
It's about finding that right mix.
Yeah, finding the right mix that resonates with your target market.
And that aligns with my overall business goals.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And remember, growth takes time.
Okay.
And it takes consistent effort.
Yeah.
So don't get discouraged if you don't see results overnight.
Yeah.
It's about setting realistic goals.
Right.
Tracking your progress.
Yeah.
Making adjustment along the way. And really staying focused on that long game.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
And as you continue to, grow and evolve your business,
always
remember that leadership is an ongoing journey of learning and adapting and refining your approach.
So constantly looking for ways to improve, to innovate, to create value.
Exactly.
Okay.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
I
want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What if acquisition entrepreneurship is the ultimate entrepreneurship hack?
Okay, a hack. I like that.
It allows you to bypass that often perilous startup phase.
Right.
You can tap into this vast market of existing businesses and build a company with a really solid foundation.
Yeah.
Ready for growth.
So getting a head start in the entrepreneurial race
Exactly.
But as we've discussed, it's not without its challenges.
It's not.
Yeah, you need that careful planning, that due diligence.
Yeah, you got to do your homework.
And that commitment to building a thriving business.
Absolutely. But with the right approach and a healthy dose of that entrepreneurial spirit, acquiring a business can be a really transformative experience.
I love that. All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of acquisition entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
From the initial search all the way to, post-acquisition growth strategies.
Yep, it's been a pleasure.
I've learned a lot. It's been great.
I'm glad.
And to our listener, we hope you found this deep dive insightful and inspiring.
Inspiring for sure.
Remember, the world of business is full of possibilities.
It is.
So go forth, acquire wisely, and build something extraordinary.
I love it.
All right, until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.